So we just finished up my regular weekly acting class, and every acting class, especially if it's local to you, will be different in terms of what they might go over. For me, the main class that I've been going to is called Scene a Week, and basically the teacher will give you a script just like this or sides, and you will have your character. You'll have either one person to talk to or multiple people in the scene, and essentially you'll do a cold read where you will read for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even less than that, maybe less than 10 minutes, and it's supposed to be cold. She'll give you the script, or the instructor will give you the script, and this could be in a situation as a casting director. If you are, for some reason, we don't do in-person auditions anymore. I've done one in-person audition and it was really fun, but you hear like horror stories of how terrible it is, of driving, finding Parfik, dealing with traffic, showing up, being 5 minutes, and then it's all over, and then you just feel worthless. But I remember my time was pretty good. Well, what I was saying was a casting director or someone might just give you some sides or a script or a monologue to work on and ask you to cold read it. So you have 10, 15 minutes to break it down, to read all the lines, even if it has a big old X right there. Read everything, because these 2 pages, I mean, these are just lines on a page, but everything here is enough information to give you context of what's going on. It'll tell you who you are, but it's your job to break down the script, break down these sides, and everyone has their own process of how to break down a script. My process is asking questions like, who am I? Who am I in this scene to this other person? How do I feel about this other person? How do I feel about what they're saying to me in this script? Where am I? Yes, it'll obviously give you a physical location. Sometimes it won't, but it'll give you a location, and not just where are you physically, but where do you feel like, and this is total actor and creative's choice, where do you feel based on these lines, where are you in this project? If it's a TV series or a movie, do you feel like this is the beginning of the film, the middle, or the end? Because if you think about storyline, then you know that there's always a beginning, there's always an introduction to the character. And TV is a little bit different. If it's episodic, you're always in the middle of someone's life. If you think about Friends or The Big Bang Theory, it's always in the middle of something. You already know these characters, and the characters already know everyone in TV. But in film, you are introduced to the character, and then you see other characters who either tag along in the protagonist's journey. I'm just thinking about your cliche hero movie, and then there's the climax in the middle, and then there's like the redemption, and then you a lot of people get lost during the way, and then you have your end. So there's like this whole arc in a storyline. So to figure out where you are within this side does help you play or act in a specific way. So who are you? Where are you? And what do you want? A lot of people say, what's your goal in this scene? In terms of objective, like, what do you want? Do you want this other person that you're talking to feel heard? Do you want to get some information from them? Like my scene right now, it's just a cliche bartender talking to someone who's asking about someone I know. What do I want? I could be like, okay, why do you want to know about this other dude? What are you in here for? I don't know you. Why are you asking me about my friend? You're playing it a little suspiciously, but you can change your goal. I mean, that you can definitely make different how do you call it, choices. And choices is all up to the creative. It's all up to the actor to make. So you can make choices. Maybe your goal isn't to act suspicious. Maybe your goal is to be absolutely oblivious to who the other person is. So they're asking about your friend that you actually know, and you're like, who? That name? No. That sounds familiar. Who are you, by the way? Or if you're suspicious, you're going to be like, oh, that's who. Yeah. Who are you, by the way? Now, they weren't identical lines back to back, but you get the point. You can give it a certain choice, and it's all within the script. Like I said, everyone has their own breakdown, and I've noticed something I've been doing Scene a Week, and this is just my local acting class. And I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to sign up for it if you're ever here in the state of Kentucky. Or I believe there are other options on the website to take virtual classes. We have self-tape workshops to understand how to have a better self-tape, good lighting, good audio, understanding your framing. That's all important as well. And there's many different classes you can take. So I'll leave a link in the description down below. But going back to Scene a Week and cold reading and something that I keep running into, majority of the time, and it's not like I've broken down the script exactly how I just told you. When you're in the heat of the moment, you get this cold read and you got 10 to 15 minutes, your heart's racing a little bit, you're just reading all these lines and you're like, okay, who am I? Where am I? You feel more compelled to just memorize these lines rather than breaking down the script. And that's something I do even to this day. After 4 years of taking the same class, I've just gotten so comfortable with, understanding where I am in the scene to help me memorize these lines a bit quicker. Everyone has their own method to retain these lines. And if you switch up a few words, that's okay. In a cold read, they don't expect you to be off book. Off book meaning you have these lines memorized. And so I remember the biggest piece of advice that I found, it wasn't something that I heard. I found this. Can you believe it? Actually, no. My acting mentor, my coach, she taught me this, and she said, "Listen, some people have small lines. Some have, you'll get cold reads that are entire, maybe 2 pages of dialogue that you have to remember, and there are different techniques to do that." But if you're in a scene with someone else and you don't know your next line, one of the best things that you can do is just listen. Just react. Actually, it'll tell you, the sides will tell you what the other person is saying, and you'll remember, as soon as they say that last line, I'm going to say my line. Don't really do that, but we do that. So it's just the reality of it. But just hear these words as if it was the first time you're hearing them. And how do you do that? Actually listen. Actually listen. Just hear them. And I know that I'm actually listening when I kind of lean in, because I do that naturally in everyday conversation. I kind of just lean in to take someone in a little bit more and then just hear how they say it. Even if they say it so monotone, if your reader isn't a good reader, or if your reader says it in a way like, no, you're not supposed to say it like that. That's not how I thought you were going to say it. See, now this works on your reaction. This works on listening. The two very most important things in a scene, even if it's not a cold read, even just any scene. These casting directors, I've never spoken to one. I've just heard them on social media and in workshops and webinars saying that casting wants to know how well you can listen, how well you can react. How do you feel about what they just said? Now, if you're hearing it for the very first time, you could have, and they're saying it in a different way that you didn't prepare for, oh yeah, you're going to have a different reaction. And that's all based on, maybe you don't know your lines that well. Maybe those 10 to 15 minutes, they ran up, you're like, I don't know anything. The best thing you can do is memorize your first line and your last line and everything in between. This may not be the best advice, but this is what I followed after the 4 years I've been doing this, and I've seen it. It's different when you perform it, and when you watch it back on a self-tape, it's totally different. It's totally different. It doesn't feel, you don't feel the energy when it's in person from when it's in a screen. Because in a screen, like when you think of a TV and film, it's right there. You're so close. So you see those little mannerisms. But like I said, memorize your first and last line. Make sure you have those memorized, and everything in between, what your scene partner gives you. Just listen. Take that in. And just, okay, how do I feel about what he just said? How do I feel about how do I feel about that? And if you need to take that moment to just think, I think that thinking is very powerful over just spitting out your next line once you hear whatever last line they just said, and that was your cue. And then if you have to look at your script, if you have to look at your sides for this cold read, take a look at it. Look back up. and then deliver it. Most people, here's another thing before I leave you. Another thing, people would read their lines as they're looking at the sides. If you need your sides after the cold read, don't. Read your line, however long it is. If it's just three words, an entire monologue, get those 3 words in, look up to your read partner, and deliver those lines. Then look back down, get the next 3, 4, 5 sentence, whatever it is, look up, and then deliver it. That's better than just reading it more fluently, I believe, because it's better to connect than to be correct. This has been Actor's Notes. That has been my notes for acting class. I hope this resonated with somebody. I'm not a perfect actor, and this is still my journey of training and learning and figuring myself out in the methods that work best for me. So, yeah, hopefully that resonated with somebody, and I'll see you in the next one. I love you.